see. Hello, everybody. Joey here. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm going to check Slack to make sure I am being heard. Let me see. Yeah, I can hear myself. So that has been done. Eric, you're now on screen. Hey, everybody. All right, today we're going to talk about... I don't know how to do intros. I don't know when I'm supposed to hand it off.
You're joining me today.
Yeah.
Come on. There you go.
I've only done a dozen of these. Joining me today, my esteemed colleague, friend, a brilliant mind in the digital space. Dude, come on, you're messing up my stuff.
All right.
This is Eric Sorensen. Eric, who are you? What do you do? Who do you work for?
Wow.
I know.
Okay. Joey, great to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir.
I'm excited to be here. Okay, so that's out of the way. This is, I actually was excited by your invite because I look forward to learning about NFTs.
Oh, no. It's already gone bad. Oh, my God.
All right. So, my name's Eric Sorensen. I'm currently working with a company called Parks Associates, which is a research firm out of Dallas. And what they do, it's really interesting if you think about sort of the business side that you and I come from, right? So they do sort of broadband surveys across sort of three key industries. One of those being connected health, where, if you think about how you take care of your grandparents or, your parents or whatever that are living on their own or whatever.
Yeah.
And how you monitor their health, right? Or your own personal health. They do the connected home. So surveys related to how many internet cameras you have in your home or security cameras or speakers or microphones or whatever.
Yep.
And then the third piece that they cover is connected entertainment, which is sort of the team that I work on. So connected entertainment covers everything from streaming services to devices, right, that are in your home, how you consume content in your home, to, connected TVs, you name it, right? So what they do is they put out these surveys, and then all of that data comes back into our analytics team. And my job and my team's job is really to sort of take all of that data, sort of combine that with industry trends, and then we communicate that out to our partners and our clients about what that means for the trend in the space. So take streaming spaces, take, as you know me, the background that I come from a little bit, the sports media space,
Mm-hmm.
right? Take the landscape of sports media and what's happening now with traditional TV and streaming sports media rights, right? So we take all of that information and we provide reports back to our clients who subscribe to our research, and then they make informed business decisions based off of our trends and our research.
I got it.
Dude, that sounded really good, by the way.
No, that sounded great. Although I will say, it sounds like you install the cameras and things in people's houses instead of being a McKinsey. People, I guess they subscribe to your reports.
Yeah. Well, no, we don't. So we do surveys, right? We'll do broadband internet surveys. So somebody will call you and, I don't really know all the ins and outs of how they do it, but imagine when Nielsen would call you and offer you a gift card if you took a survey, right? So that's what they do, but they do 10,000 broadband homes. And then that really helps us set what it means across all broadband homes, right? So let's say there's 103 million broadband homes in the United States right now.
Yep.
We take a percentage of that, and then that helps us decide what the trend is of how many homes, subscribe to Netflix, right?
Yeah. So so all the NFT nerds that we've got and that we work with, a company like us, we're building the plumbing. We're building kind of the infrastructure for the future of consuming content, owning content, renting content in the framework of decentralization and crypto and just what happens next when the FANG companies stop owning everything and I'm just an independent creator. Amazon won't let me in the front door. Netflix doesn't want to talk to me. How do I still get my short film out? And that's what that's why you're here. That's the marriage there.
Cool.
Just in case the NFT guys were like, what
What? Who is this guy?
Yeah, this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer is right, and I'm sure you're going to ask the question, but if you think about streaming provides the opportunity for content creators and publishers who own their own content to go direct to consumer. That's the answer, right? So like if you think about all the streaming aggregators that are out there, the Roku channels of the world allows the content creators and publishers to go directly to consumer. Now there's an investment there for sure, right? You can't just fire up a channel and launch all your stuff like, you know, you would do with like a YouTube channel, right? There's an infrastructure and an app that needs to be built. But we're actually, sorry, am I jumping the gun? You haven't even asked the question yet.
I don't even know what the question. Now I feel woefully unprepared.
All right, good. So let me continue then. Well, I mean, there's I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but there's this comedian out there who basically built a pretty significant social media audience. Kevin on Stage, that's his name, just came to my head. He's a comedian who built a pretty significant social media audience. Then he built a YouTube channel, and then he launched a direct-to-consumer app on Amazon Fire, right? So like the concept is there that content creators and publishers can eventually build out a direct-to-consumer product. And frankly, the challenge is that there's roughly 300 plus streaming services in the United States, right? So how do you compete? How do you make a name for yourself?
You don't. Like you're fighting for shelf space. You're fighting to be on the front page of the menu system, and not everybody makes the cut, right? Like we have that in NFT land. So these amazing NFT projects get created. There's an assumption that if you show up in a marketplace, you know, the Walmart, Target equivalent, that if I'm there, the audience will come. But those marketplaces, you know, cater to big boys. You know, they cater to famous directors, famous creators, you know, famous actors. And the little guy, there really isn't an avenue to be seen. So they have to hustle. I can't tell you how many NFT project guys we talk to in my day job, where we had an amazing guy named Songs of Eden, this amazing musician who does some really, really crazy, interesting stuff. Like, it's just amazing. And he spends 30% of his time on the art. And then, you know, the other part of his time is, you know, wearing a marketing hat. And I always feel like these artists, they didn't go to business school. They would have, you know, other people do that. Like, they're here to create. And the idea that such a big chunk of their time is just to do self-promotion and making sure that they're in all the right markets and then hustling up their newsletter, Discord community, what have you. So I am curious. We're jumping, but I am curious. So in the world of over-the-top services, so I have a TV over here to my right. It's got the Disney app and the HBO app, and but it also has the Darkblock app.
All right.
Anybody, I live in the same zip code now, at least as far as my TV goes, as the biggest boys in the land. I think independent, like your Kevin on Stage guy, his app would live right next door to Disney. So in app land, this kind of over the top, how can, I don't know. I don't know what my exact question is, but we're in the same zip code now. And Disney, how are they going to, they have a built-in audience. Kevin on Stage versus Disney are two very different things.
Right.
But they're on par. Like I now have access to it. I can just download the app and get it. You know, in the olden days of cable, if there was a channel I wanted, the Longhorn Network, or, you know, yeah, like I did that.
Like a good plug.
I had to. I didn't have access to it immediately. You know. Yeah. You had to wait till the cable provider decided to add it to their menu of services. And so I'm just curious. I guess my question. How are these guys, how are they not eating themselves? Because they're actually showing up just as an app on our phones, you know? Yeah. I don't even know if that's a good question.
Well, what I think you're trying to get at is it's not necessarily the competition.
Yes,
It's
sir.
the idea that let's say your app, or I think it's Kev on stage, not Kevin on stage, but Kev on stage, or say I'm trying to think of like cornhole, right? Cornhole, a niche sport, right? So how can those products not necessarily compete, but coexist, right? So it's the idea that really what is happening now, and the biggest play for a lot of these niche, not just niche sports, but niche services, is the aggregator model, right? So if you look at the Roku channels of the world, Amazon Fire TV, the idea that they're aggregating the services that are personalized to what I care about, right? So I am personalizing that menu, not necessarily allowing, there may be a promotional menu at the top that, big time services are paying for to get that shelf space at the top. But then all of my personalized services that I care about or that I've accessed recently are all right here now. So that content is being aggregated in the menu. I mean, it's like you and I worked on it, right? It's like going back to the mobile app, right? So you take a mobile app and sort of take your menu screen of your phone, and that's what it looks like. But you're going to personalize the apps that you use the most. And that's what's happening now on these menu screens, right? So I think there's that piece. But then the second piece to that is, how do I get the promotion? How do I get the exposure? Where does that come from? Right. And so I think that's where the real challenge is, and that's where sort of the investment comes into play. Of, to your point of your musical artists, right? A lot of these guys are spending 40, 50, 60% of their time promoting their product. Right. Now, could you pay somebody to do that? Sure. I got some people that I can fire up that'll help you spend your money on good marketing and promotion. Yeah. But, the reality is a lot of these smaller niche services don't have the budget for a marketing budget to do that. So they spend a lot of their time trying to get that exposure in the promotion. Now, the easiest ways to do that is, man, we're gonna have to reach out to Kev on stage, because this guy's getting a lot of love at our conversation here. But the easiest way to do that is to build your social audience, right? Utilize the free content that you're able to create that engagement with your consumers, with your super fans, right? Yeah. And that goes back to, like, again, the Kim Kardashian model, right? Did I just make a Kim Kardashian reference?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, right. Yeah, anytime you need a Kardashian reference, you just call me and my wife. We're happy to share. But no, the idea is really that, you build that personal brand. Right. You build this concept of, I view it as, do I have valuable enough content to put behind a paywall, right? So let's go back to that concept first, which is, if you look at, and I'll give you an example of a product that I worked on. So we worked with Colin Cowherd on sort of building the Herd Now, which was his website that's curated by some editors that we hired and built out. But it's content that is personalized to him, content that he cares about, right? theherdnow.com. The next phase of that was sort of building out a podcast network, similar to like Bill Simmons and The Ringer. Right. And then the third phase of content was, do we have a large enough audience here that we could put exclusive content behind a paywall that people would be willing to pay for? Right. And I think that's where, again, Colin Cowherd's been around for 30 years and built up the Herd Now audience, right? That allowed us to recognize that there's an audience here who'd be willing to pay for content behind a paywall. Yeah. And the same concept could be true with a streaming app, but you may not necessarily generate revenue from that piece. You're generating from the ad revenue or the ad inventory that you're putting into the product, right? Gotcha. Yeah. So I think that concept can work. It's a lot of work. It's not like you can just flip a switch and you're launching a streaming app that everybody's going to know exists, right? I say we track 300 plus apps. Those are ones that we track, and we say we think we have pretty good estimates on how many subscribers they have, the cost of it, the growth of it, right? But that doesn't mean that that's all there is. I mean, there's, very similar to your mobile app marketplace, right? There's thousands of apps that are in the streaming space now.
The thing that I think is fascinating, what is it, like a frog in boiled pot. Like he doesn't jump out of the pot if you slowly turn up the heat.
Okay.
That's I feel like that's what's happened to us. So we used to all complain about Time Warner or whatever it was back in the old days, Spectrum now, and our cable bill was too much. It was like $135, and I don't watch Home Shopping Network, so I don't need 6 of them. Why don't you lower my bill? And I want, and then we cut the cord, and we all got little smart devices. Quick aside, is there a breakdown of what the most popular devices are? Is it Apple TV? Is it Roku? Is it the cheap stuff?
Yeah, what's interesting is the for streaming, right? So again, there's multiple platforms for content and streaming content.
Yep.
But streaming in the world that we cover, the most popular device is a smart TV, and that's the Samsung Smart TV.
So the built-in apps that come with the TV.
Yep.
Interesting.
So, but what's really interesting is Samsung obviously, has been around the longest. You've got LG and Vizio and all these other companies that are sort of building out the smart TV concept. But from a usage standpoint, we're seeing that the Samsung TV is the most popular streaming device. Now, there's two things that I love any opportunity I get to say the word dongle, but there's
Kardashian and dongle. That's the trend. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I could say it, right?
Dongle, yeah.
It's a device. So the dongle is actually the Chromecast, the Fire TVs, the thing that you plug into the side.
Right.
Right. We're also seeing the trend that consumers are sort of fed up with the dongle, right? Like they're tired of having to switch the inputs and make the change. And so if it's all built into my TV, I'll just go with that.
Right.
Right. If I can get Amazon Fire TV on my Samsung TV, what do I need to buy the $40 device that comes in the mail from Amazon for?
Yeah. Right.
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 So, again, it's personalization, it's simplification, really, right? So think about the personalization piece is really what you're talking to about your cable bill and getting the Home Shopping Network and all the channels that you don't want, right? Which is the move to streaming for a lot of consumers, but it's also the bill, right? The bundle and the cable bill that you were paying $295 for 170 channels that you don't watch, right? But then the other piece is being able to personalize that experience versus watching in a live linear TV fashion, right?
Yeah. I just want to touch on dongles.
You want to talk about dongles?
Just off the top of your head, and if you don't know is Samsung, so it's going to be running some sort of Android operating system. And does that mean the distribution model for apps is regular old kind of Google Play Store that'll run on the Samsungs?
Well, it's Android, right? It would be the Android sort of app development side. There's really two. I think there's two that sort of have risen to the top, right? It's iOS and Android. And it's the same carries over from smartphone devices to TV.
I was just curious if I, as a content creator who invested in my own app, it's the Joey app, and I've got my content on there. If I have to say pretty please to Samsung to be able to put it on the TV, or if I just can use like an open app marketplace like we have with iOS and regular old Android. All right. So,
there's still SDKs and build outs and approvals. It's the same concept that has been around for decades with the smartphone. Well, decades, I don't know if that's right, but for years with the smartphone.
Understood. Yeah.
In terms of app development. Right.
All good. Yeah. I totally got it. All right. So my $135 monthly cable bill, I got rid of it. I dongled up. I got Apple TV 4K. Right. Yeah. I put all these apps on top of it. I typed in the code so that for my desktop, and I'm all in.
You're connected.
And now my secret little bill is $165 a month, and every once in a while there's a double charge. And I forgot I haven't looked at Peacock in 3 months, but WrestleMania is coming up, so I need to keep that membership up. And then the prices are increasing subtly. Disney was $6 or whatever it was.
Raised their price. Peacock has raised its price over the last sort of 3/4, right? So yeah.
Yeah, and even doing kind of product like Peacock, I know I have two charges for Peacock, but it's like the ad free and then another product that
Yeah, premium.
okay, like I thought it was. So it's like that frog in the pot where I didn't
Yeah.
realize. I thought I was doing so good. I'm so smart. I'm only watching the stuff I want to watch. No more
Yeah.
home shop, 6 channels of shopping network, and yet my bill's up $40. And I bought a dongle that was $300. Right?
Yeah. Well, you got to have that 4K. So here's the thing, right? You tell me how many and if you actually did that, if you actually looked at your bill or figured out exactly how many subscriptions you subscribe to, goodbye you, because I would tell you the average consumer doesn't, right? The average consumer guesstimates on how many subscriptions they have, right? For the most part.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, I don't know if that's if that's a fast service that's free, or if I pay for it.
Right.
Might be like a fast service without ads, so there might be a charge for it. I don't know.
I don't know.
Right.
I have no
Right.
idea.
Right. And I'm not saying that that's the that was the MO of the industry by any means. That wasn't the intent.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that the idea of moving to streaming for a lot of these sort of media conglomerates was that that's where their audience was moving, right? Yeah. It wasn't necessarily like, cable's dead. We're done with cable TV. We got to get on streaming.
Yeah.
It was really, how do we continue to engage our audience when we're losing millions of dollars on linear TV because consumers are migrating to streaming?
Right.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I think there is that, again, going back to personalization and the user experience, right? It allows you, the streaming side of things allows you to have a little bit more control over what you pay for and watch, is one piece of it. And the second part to that is, yeah, I mean, the average consumer today pays for at least, or 50% of consumers today pay for at least 5 subscriptions a month.
I'm looking at my TV here. I'm up to, there's 9 that I know I'm paying for right now. Like I'm looking at it.
You, my friend, are in the 22%. So 22% of all consumers pay for 9 or more streaming services. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I overeat and I overindulge in content. Yeah, that's par for the course. Yeah.
Right. And you know what would be really interesting is, of those 9, go back to like which one you accessed the least and when that was. Could it have been 30 days ago where you could have canceled the subscription? Probably so.
I'm looking at the icon, A&E Network, right there. That sucker never makes the cut. Like row 1 and row 2, those are my heavy rotation. And then, Twitch and Spotify probably don't get enough love on the TV. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to fill you in on your bill there a little bit. So what's interesting though is that the average consumer is paying less than their cable bill, right? So we just did a report, and I think I actually have the exact number here. But what was interesting is that consumer bills are going down. So like you, they're looking at that A&E going, I haven't watched that in 30 days. Why am I paying for that? Right. But in our latest report, dollars paid for OTT content was $90 a month in Q1 of 2022 and Q1 of 2021. In Q2 of 2022, it is now down to $81.
Oh yeah.
So two things are happening, right? One, you're looking at that A&E going, I don't watch that anymore. Why am I still paying for it? 2, let's look at, inflation and the cost of gas and people trimming budgets, right? Like that's why you're looking at A&E saying, I don't watch that anymore. I'm going to cancel that subscription.
Yeah.
Right. So, but it's also a lot less than your $150 cable bill, right?
But it takes more work. When you
more work, man.
Right.
It takes way more work.
I don't even know the login, or what email address I use to sign up for that thing. It's all right. So does cable still exist? Are there still guys with the $30 a month, 27 channel, whatever the number is? What percentage of that? How big is over the top versus I still have a wire in the wall?
Yeah, and I'm going to look at something while I've still got your screen up there. So, The trend in Q1 of 2022 is 83% of consumers have OTT subscription services.
What?
61%, which is down from 70%, have pay TV services, either traditional or streaming. So that includes vMPDs, right? So take the Fubus of the world, the Hulus of the world, right? That's still considered pay TV in that category.
I see.
But the trend went from 70% to 61%, right? So we're seeing constantly the cord cutting, the trend of consumers migrating online and removing themselves. There's a couple of reasons for it, right? One is, think about when you would call your cable company and complain about your bill.
Yeah.
How you talk about like getting out of a streaming service being hard. Try getting out of your cable bundle, right?
Yeah.
Try getting out of your phone, internet, and cable bill on the phone with somebody for 4 hours, trying to either cancel your cable subscription or reduce your internet costs or whatever that is.
Right.
So if you think about the ease of use of streaming services, now you're right, it is work, but it's work that you can control, not the cable company, right? You can cancel that subscription, click of a button or a phone call, right?
Yeah.
Right? For the most part.
Yeah.
Or online, you can cancel that subscription.
100%.
With the cable side. So really one of the reasons why consumers are migrating online, obviously you're paying for stuff that you don't watch. You know, there's trials that sort of drive people in, right? The idea of like, hey, wait.
That's Showtime. Once a year, I get free Showtime. I always look forward to that week. Yeah.
And again, I mean, let's go back to like, not to date myself here, but on my ESPN Insider days, right? People would pay for ESPN Insider and then forget about it.
Right.
And we'd still charge their card.
That's the gym business model, right? I have my fat butt has a gym membership, but
yeah,
I don't know when I'm going to go back. Maybe use a hot tub.
Yeah. So, but I mean, that's the idea, right? It's the reoccurring revenues from streaming services that you may or may not use.
But if it's easier to disconnect, then that is they save money on the customer support side, but then they kind of lose money because people can easily do it without needing to make a call.
No doubt. And your traditional telcos are also looking at it from the opportunity of like, do we need to put a coax cable in somebody's house, roll out a truck, install that, or can we just give them an app?
Well,
right?
So I am curious. So NFT land, NFTs kind of represent an ownership. It is a NFTs can allow you. It's like your username and password. So if you own an NFT, it can be the literal key that opens up access to content. And we've got a bunch of partners that are doing some very interesting film things. Not Disney yet, but it's that, $3 to $5 million movie that's looking to distribute by themselves. So my question, and how it relates to you, the streaming guys, the content guys, the HBO Max company, they have this library of all these things.
Publishers? We'll call them publishers.
Publishers. They make 83% people are over the top these days. They're still making money on the cable folks.
Yeah,
they're cool. We don't care how we deliver the content. Like,
that's right.
The future is kind of decentralized Web3 land where I get to spend my days.
Okay.
What do you hear? What is the next frontier? And it might not be NFT because you guys don't, you're not charting that yet, but you will. What is the new frontier other than just another app on my Apple TV?
So I think there's three things at play here. One of them, and I would say it's probably not necessarily NFTs in the streaming space, but I mean, we hear people talking about it as a way to make transactions through NFTs and your streaming service. That is starting to happen, right? Now, again, not an area that we're charting or we're seeing a lot of uptake in from our surveys.
Sure.
But, there's three things that are sort of happening in the streaming industry. Crazy enough, while I would tell you the pandemic hurt a lot of industries, it didn't hurt the streaming industry. Right. Because people are home, they're consuming more content. The growth. I mean, just think of Disney launched in the middle of the pandemic. Disney Plus launched in the middle of the pandemic. Right. So there's a couple of things that have now happened. I wouldn't say post-pandemic, but I would say sort of where we are in the state of, this quarter of 2022, which is the saturation in the United States we might be reaching a saturation point with streaming services.
I don't have enough time in the day to watch everything that is available to me. Like,
right.
I want a mainline. I want that Neuralink dongle. Give me a brain dongle so I can get Kenobi loaded up, in 5 minutes. I'm sorry.
Right. No. I mean, the point is like the subscriptions. Look, I mean, unless you're sharing your password with somebody, everybody has Netflix.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Disney is on sort of an uphill trend in the United States, but what we're seeing now is, you've got investors that, you've got to appease, and you've got, business models that you've got to continue to grow. And as the adoption and saturation takes place in the US, these larger services are expanding the globe, right? They're starting to, go overseas, starting to grow in some of the, the Latin America countries. And so that expansion is taking place. And then they're all trying to figure out, how do we generate more subscribers? What can we do within our service? So look at like Netflix with, for the first time, there's two things that they're doing for the first time. One is, I'm sure it's, your fans have seen the password sharing, charging for passwords concept that they're testing in some of the Latin American. They're launching for the first time ever an advertising tier, right? An AVOD service that's going to be cheaper than the $19.95 Netflix service.
Yep.
Right. And then thirdly, they sort of looked around and went, hey, maybe we should be launching video games, right? Or some sort of casual gaming service on our site to keep people more engaged.
Right.
So I think all of those things, plus live streaming, right? So live streaming and SVOD services is starting to take fruition. There's also more interactivity that you can do with live streaming. So take Disney for the first time, who said, and I know we're over time, sorry, my friend.
No, we're good.
Take Disney for the first time, who's now taken Dancing with the Stars. Did I lose you? Are you still there?
No, I'm here. I touched my phone, and then my phone automatically, the camera comes on because
there you go.
Technology.
Yeah,
don't touch my phone.
Yeah. So take Disney, for example, and I'll try to shorten this up. But Disney, is taking Dancing with the Stars off ABC and putting it on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Right. So again, audience opportunity there, product growth opportunity, but also think of the interactivity with voting and being able to vote
100%.
on. You couldn't do that on TV. You'd have to text in your vote. Remember that? Text in your vote for Dancing with the Stars or American Idol.
Yeah.
Now you can do that within a streaming service because of the connectivity. The growth of broadband's adding to that. And so, I think all of these things are sort of at play. But what were the two things with NFTs, sports wagering, and then the third piece, which I'm not really hearing a lot about because I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, is the metaverse and what that means for sort of, the streaming side, because people are hinting at it, right? People are starting to build stuff in it, but what is that going to do for my entertainment experience of watching shows and content that I want to watch? I don't know the answer.
I got answers.
Yeah.
The metaverse is amazing.
Okay.
It means a bunch of different things to different people. To me, it's about this interaction you and I are having it in a more physical sense, even though it's virtual.
Okay.
So I got feedback coming back from your.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm about ready to be super profound.
Okay. Sorry.
Jeez. No, I just hear myself.
Okay. Hang on a second.
Yeah. I never know. Oh,
any better?
Totally better. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah. Good enough.
Yeah. So the metaverse. 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago, I was in a metaverse event. There were 50 people. It was this collective, these Realm 3 guys. Shout out to the Realm 3 guys. Jahan, Dope Stilo, Declan. Amazing creators, and they just have a gathering. Miss Gecko, she's not part of the Realm 3, but Miss Gecko, shout out to her. And people were live streaming content, and we were all kind of in this shared experience. So it'd be akin to going to a live concert, or just going to the movie theater. Yet there was just this a little extra visceral experience than just, me and my family watching She-Hulk. Everybody's on their own phone while we're watching TV, right? Everyone's hitting their data streams. So yeah, metaverse right now, it's a little corporate-y. It's either Facebook, Meta kind of owning the venues and the hardware, but there are individual creators, and they're using NFTs as the unlocking mechanism. You don't have to go get a Stripe account. You don't need to go set up, Bank of America, and literally that NFT can be purchased. It can be used as a key to get into a metaverse, and all that money goes to the artist. Visa doesn't take 3%.
Okay.
There's not the marketplace doesn't take 30%. It's kind of friction free, out of the gaze of Fang and Sauron. So metaverse is the future, but it's going to be not pure VR. It's going to be some hybrid where you're sitting on the couch next to me in a digital form and my fancy glasses, and we interact in that way.
Google Glass? Just kidding.
I got that in a glass case over here. I've got a Google Glass.
I was going to say, you still have the Google glasses floating around? All right, but here's my question, and maybe you can answer this for me, which is, so as we think about, and again, trying to relate it back to streaming.
Yep.
So if we think about the direct-to-consumers, and we love this Kev on Stage guy. Mm-hmm. If Kev on Stage was going to use NFTs, right?
Yep.
To grow his streaming service.
Yep.
How would he do that?
Yeah, so a number of different ways. So depending on what the rules of his streaming service are, he could literally authenticate. I could buy a Kevon NFT, and I can then authenticate in his app that I do own it, and it unlocks, some capability. It's essentially whatever you're doing with a username and password, you can do with an NFT. Except Kevon doesn't have all these extra hands in the middle.
Right.
So it gives him more freedom, and he doesn't have to say pretty please to Bezos or Tim Cook to have that content show up.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. That's interesting. I mean, I have, as we were sort of talking about the migration of content creators and niche publishers building their own streaming app, I wonder when or how, probably more when we will see somebody sort of take that first step to use a NFT as payment, right?
We're waiting for a Bieber moment. We're waiting for some sort of thing that happens like what YouTube had, what Twitch has had. Drake plays a video game on Twitch, and 500,000 kids are watching.
Yep.
We haven't had that all the way in NFTs. We've had some kind of successes. Half the people I talk to, like in my neighborhood, they think, I'm a scam artist, and the other people think I'm, Buck Rogers in the future. And that's just kind of NFTs have a bad, they have some bad PR. I mean, there are bad people doing shady things in anything with cash right now, I'm sure. So I think we're waiting for a Bieber moment, which I wish I could find a better metaphor, but that's what I got in my head right now.
You're in a Kardashian moment.
Break the internet, I think we're waiting for that, and then But think about what has happened, even during COVID. My dad is now a QR code kind of expert, right? He knows how to scan in a QR code. He's leveled up. Our children don't take cash. If you don't Venmo the allowance or whatever it is, you don't give them $20 for cutting the grass. It's you Venmo'd. So they've already
$20 for cutting the grass. I mean, I'll cut your grass for $20.
So I think it's going to be. It is interesting what the event is going to be. Maybe McDonald's does something. The Monopoly game on NFTs, and it unlocks winnings or content or
What
what
about
have
the
you.
Walmart thing that just launched? What do you have any thoughts or?
I honestly, I don't even know what the Walmart. I know Starbucks has an NFT thing.
Yeah, well, they launched in the metaverse, right? A virtual store in the metaverse.
Oh yeah.
But like, would I mean, is the combination of the metaverse and NFTs like people sort of speak in these terms like they're together, but are they separate?
They are separate, but they can be
Okay.
together. Again, NFTs have so much different utility. It
Yeah.
is your classic ticket to the baseball game. It's a
Yeah.
ticket. It is your username and password to access your Disney Plus content. It's that. It's
Hmm.
also can be a collectible. It's your Funko Pop collection in digital form. So NFTs is just I've got a stack downstairs like a but when somebody wants to go buy your Funko Pop collection, they got to come to the house or go to the garage sale, and you got to go
Yeah.
negotiate, and you only have access to those people that were in your garage on that Sunday. With
Okay.
NFTs, the marketplace is 24/7. The money is not without is friction free more or less. You don't need Visa. I don't need, and it's kind of permissionless and anonymous. So
Okay.
I'm I collect Funko Pops. I don't want everyone to know that I have this ridiculous collection of Funko Pops. So I can kind of distribute them if I had digital NFT Funko Pops. I don't have to tie Joey, the professional developer guy, with Joey, the knucklehead who likes to collect toys, right?
Right. Right.
So the
Okay.
future, so NFTs, and then same thing with Metaverse. Metaverse is a completely different beast, but the idea of engaging in real time, controlling who I am, I'm some schlub guy, but in the Metaverse, I'm jacked. My hair never turns gray. Some people think I'm
Using
cool.
your gym membership.
Yeah, exactly. Like there are people in the metaverse that think I'm cool, but in real life they
Yeah.
will not find me cool.
Right.
And
Right.
then the NFTs and the metaverse, they play just as far as it is the username, password, it is the ticket, it is the collectible that can
Okay.
exist in these digital spaces. All right, Eric, we're going to we could go. This is what we do though.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. We could go on forever on this, but I would sort of say that like the NFT piece, why I was interested in talking to you is because the NFT piece and the metaverse,
Mm-hmm.
to your point of the Beaver moment, like we're sort of waiting for the Netflix, the Hulus, the Disneys of the world
Right.
to like come out and say, here's a new way to make payments within our product, or here's, a new, like we had during COVID, there was conversations and a bunch of people made some money off of these co-viewing experiences,
Yeah.
right? Because people couldn't go to the movies together. So you
Right.
had co-viewing experiences.
Mhm.
But I mean, we saw from our numbers that, the uptake wasn't that great on that. People were like, I mean, I'd rather text them and ask them something versus, you and I having this conversation and watching a movie together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it's there. I will be honest that from our research, I haven't really seen the trend, or it hasn't started yet, that there's an NFT place within streaming or a metaverse within streaming.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's fair to say, right?
100%. Like
Okay.
we're still in fringe territory, but more and more
Yeah.
brands. There's
Yeah.
always somebody a little bit more famous who wants to
Yeah.
enter. I think Bill Murray's got NFTs. Like there's just more and more, and it's just another thing on the merch table. So the Netflix, they don't really. I don't think they're going to care how they distribute the content.
Right.
They just want to make sure people can consume, and if the NFT merch table reaches a critical mass, and we have enough people who care, and I relate it to like farmers markets. We went to a farmers market.
Okay.
I can buy that peanut butter for like $5 less at our grocery store, but I buy it at the
Yeah,
farmers.
hopefully.
Right. So I think, but there's an audience for the farmers market people, and they're believers, and there's a bit of a cause and a story and a same thing with the NFT guys. They know it's the future. They build on it. They're diehard about it. They would prefer to consume and make their purchases using that kind of vehicle. And I think it's similar to the farmers markets, folks. And it's just going to be critical mass.
Right.
Farmers
Right.
market doesn't compete with Walmart, but there's multiple farmers markets in every city all the time, right? So it is a thing.
Yeah, I mean, and not to give your listeners some advice, but this is how my brain is working as you're talking, which is if you think about niche streaming services looking for an edge,
Yep.
maybe an NFT relationship is the edge. I don't know the answer to that, but right, like all these niche services, I mean, they serve an audience, a passionate audience about their content, right?
Yes.
Like Crunchyroll and like
100%.
all these different services, right?
It's on
Maybe
my
there's an
TV.
opportunity. Yeah,
Yeah.
go down the list, right? Of those who care about anime and those who care about a cornhole, right? Like
Right.
all these different services, but they're all vying for an edge. Traditionally, they're looking at aggregators to help them get the promotion, right? But maybe it's partnerships in the NFT world that allow them to separate themselves from, the pack, right? Because I mean, again, there's, we have a list of our top 10 services, and then there's everybody else.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. It's also the early adopter crowd.
Yeah.
The early adopters have now moved on into kind of NFT space because,
Yeah.
Tim Cook and we have the same phone. Elon Musk and I have the same phone. So the hardware in our pocket is not a differentiator anymore.
Right.
Right. We have the same stuff. Early adopters can't win the hardware game because we all have it. It's what tools you use to consume and buy. All right. Eric Sorensen, Parks Associates. Parks singular, Parks plural.
Parks Associates.
Parks Associates. I think there's like a person Parks.
What?
Isn't there a person named Parks?
Yeah. So the company actually was started 35 years ago by Trisha Parks.
Oh.
So they've been in the research industry since the internet's been around.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
Yeah.
They've covered a really lot of cool stuff, and it's been really interesting. And I think from my perspective, the reason, what compelled me to join is like you and I have both been on the business side, and now I'm taking that research that I used to look at to help us make business decisions, and I'm actually helping to compile it and provide that to the, can't give our client list away, but the leading SVOD services.
Yeah,
How's
yeah.
that?
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's been fun. It's definitely been challenging and open. And, we do reports. We do, state of the market reports. I'm working on a sports landscape report right now, which
that's your job.
is going to cover the streaming rights and moving online and all the challenges with regional sports networks. So it's been fun. Dude,
we're going to have to wrap it up at like the Amazon Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
With multiple
billions of dollars, man.
There's some really interesting remixes that are happening where you're taking the old traditional, are we going to go, or am I going to get hologram Howard Cosell eventually, right?
Yeah.
You pick your era of broadcaster, and then we'll have him, talk about the game that's happening right now.
Right. I mean, you might even get a little, Hank Williams Jr. with some Monday Night Football coming back.
Oh,
sorry.
Eric Sorensen, Parks Associates, thank you for holding my hand through this. All right, guys.
This was awesome, man. I look forward to seeing what you guys are doing and what the future holds for you guys. So
yeah, you're gonna be tracking.
Keep me updated.
You're gonna be tracking some of our NFT creators.
Okay.
Within the next year, there's big stuff happening. An amazing world. Thank you, Eric.
Good to see you, my friend.
All right, man.